My name is Marco Ruzza, and I am a creative director of Eurovision. Eurovision is a Dutch company. We operate in the leisure industry, and we have both design and production facilities. My background is interior design, product design. I graduated at the University Milan Politecnico, and at Eurovision I am the head of the design department, so I run all the projects. I run a team of designers, architect, interior designer, graphic designer, and of course I make sure that I am the contact person with the client, and I make sure that the projects are running smoothly and according to the briefing and according to the expectation with the client. I think the most important ones are probably the creativity. As I said, I'm head of the design department, but also the expertise of our company is very specific. We consider ourselves like storytellers. So in that sense, with the presentation that I did, the delegates, I was trying to communicate the peculiarity of being creative, but especially being a storyteller. And by storyteller, I mean that we always create some sort of experiences, some sort of unique places for the end user by telling a story. So we always start the project with creating a storyline, and we use these as a main mean to then develop all the designs in the different projects. So I hope the delegates understood this very important topic in our sector, in our company. It was not my first time. I also did a presentation last year. Of course, last year was face-to-face, was live, while this time was, of course, digital, was online with Zoom. So I found it interesting, the fact that we were able to then hold such a presentation also with the digital means. Basically, I realized that all the delegates were all interested in our project, and I could see that also, especially during the interaction moments. Because, you know, not having a live session, we had to create some sort of interaction points, interaction moments with the delegates. That went quite smoothly, I have to say, and it was interesting to say how the fact that the delegates were quite interactive with all the questions, but also with the exercises that we did. I realized that there were some projects, some specific cases that I presented that caught the attention of the delegates. One, it was the project about the Louis Vuitton traveling exhibition. And the other one was the project about the earthquake museum in Lisbon. So I received some questions, some open questions from the delegates, but also during the exercise that I proposed to the delegates, I found quite an interesting response from them. I was telling Abdullah that I also did last year a session Qatar live, and this year, of course, I did this digital session. I was like positively surprised about the fact that it was well done, and eventually it went smooth as it could have been probably live. I think the interaction tools that they were available during the session were quite strong, quite good, because they made sure that I was able to get in touch, of course, digitally, with delegates, but to have some sort of response for them. So I think the idea of doing this sort of small exercise or small workshop were well thought, and also the polls, so the way of getting answers from the delegates through this digital system were also well done. So I think it was a good experience. Of course, different than live, but definitely good to be in touch with the delegates. I could have expected probably that there was less or even non-interaction with the delegates, because, you know, with Zoom meeting, you always think, okay, you are talking and they're just listening. But honestly, it was a good experience to see that there was interaction with the delegates. I think it was nice to see, and also for me to see the reaction of some of the delegates to two projects that I presented. One was, of course, the one of Louis Vuitton, the traveling exhibition. I found nice to see some live reaction in the chat of people, just delegates, just giving some comments, positive comments about the project. So, and there was something that it was not planned and that it was not asked, but it was very spontaneous from the delegates to say, we really like the project, we really like the way you guys did the project. And something similar was happening also during the presentation of the Earthquake Museum in Lisbon. Also in that sense, during my talk, during my presentation, I was getting some reaction from the delegates without actually asking for them. So that was a very nice positive moment during the presentation. Because, you know, it is not something that is planned from my side, and also the interaction is not something that is scheduled, but it comes spontaneously from the delegates. So that's something very nice to see. Of course, if I look at our experience, yes, definitely. I brought some different cases on display, and by each of them, I sort of explained, of course, what the project was and how the project generated. But I also tried to highlight the connection and the construction in the structure between our company and the clients. And every time I was trying to highlight, for example, which department was involved from our side and which departments were involved from the client side. And I tried to highlight the different balances and the dynamics between the clients and us. So I hope that for them also, considering the World Cup events happening, that they can understand what kind of elements are needed from a client side and what kind of elements are expected from companies such as Eurovision, but it could also be any company that provides any sort of services for the World Cup event. So I hope that they can understand how it is important between a relationship client and, for example, an event company like ours, to define all the aspects that are expected and needed, and also to create a sort of demarcation line between who is doing what. Who is responsible for that from the client side, and who's responsible for that from the side of the company such as Eurovision. This is hopefully something that I brought to them and they could use in the future when they will be working on creating events for the World Cup. Yeah, this is something very actual, something that we're also talking about in the company. Also because our type of project and event are very physical, not so much digital. The digital component is one part of the whole aspect. So we are still trying to research within the company to understand how we will move on, especially how the event industry will move on. Of course, there is one aspect is the physical contact, let's say, in the project. So to make sure that when we design the project, we take into consideration the distance between the visitors. But this is something maybe a little bit difficult whenever you have to deal with a building with some specific spaces, and then you are limited in that sense. The other aspect is, of course, the implementation of digital components. In our project, when we use digital aspect, we talked about audiovisual, but also digital means to control the flow within some venues. So these two elements are probably aspects in our project that they will take even more. They will be even more important in defining a project. So, for example, we use technologies to control the flows, for example, with RFID or control system. This might become more and more important to make sure, for example, that the physical flow within a building are following a specific path, making sure that there are no crisscross between the flows. And then, of course, the digital aspect of the experience, the use of audiovisual, the use of computer system, that will probably recreate some of the aspects of the physical experiences and turn them into more digital, where people are not per se expected to be physically there, but they can also experience it from a digital perspective. On the other hand, I also have to say that it is such a short span of time, like since the outbreak of COVID, that it's still not exactly clear what the future of the industry is. And by saying that, I mean that it seems like even in the event industry and the event sector, there is a sort of waiting feeling of trying to understand what the future will be. On one hand, it seems like the whole sector is waiting for some development in terms of, will we get, of course, a vaccine and things will come back to the normal situation, or will it be completely different than how we were used to? I think the industry is waiting for a clear direction for the future. Once we know that, probably we will have to shift back to normal or something similar to normal, or maybe have to be creative and find opportunity to find new solution. So it seems like we are still sort of waiting for something to be defined and be more certain. So in that sense, I don't really have a clear answer to that. But as I said, we are looking for opportunities, and we are still having one foot on the old school way of doing project. So I believe that in the next month, we will have a clear answer. The general trend that we see in our industry, as you probably have seen, our company is quite broad in terms of range of action. So we work for the theme park industry, so like the classic theme park and amusement parks, but we also work for museums, so which are more strict educational sector, educational project. And there in between, we have everything that goes from water parks to dark rides and general attraction. What we actually see in the last few years, and also not per se connected with the COVID, is a sort of a switch between the two opposite sectors. So the theme park, which is very entertainment based and entertainment driven, and the museum, which is a little bit more serious, and we see quite a lot of shifting towards one another. So the educational fun aspect is becoming more and more strong in our industry. So for example, the theme parks and more entertainment clients are always looking for some sort of serious and educational purpose, while in the museum sector, they always seek more and more to become entertaining, to become more fun. That's why we have always used this edutainment word to describe this sort of shifting back together. And we see more and more in the last request from clients for project that they are not able to define themselves either theme park or either a museum. They always describe themselves as experiences or attraction in general, and they want to be labeled either one or the other. So this is the main development that we see in the last few years.